Ah, bonjour. Ah, mes amis, tu es déjà là. Ah, c'est un peu froid ici. C'est un peu froid. A little cold in the country. Oh, on est là. On est là. On est en France. Ça va. Ça va. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Le Perspective Académique. We're going to have a new joiner of the culture that Academy possesses here. We have Rafa with us, and we have Joshi. Rafa speaks a little bit of French. Josie tried his French, and he's doing right well. Has stars on the fridge at the Louvre. So that's all I'm saying. We're going to go ahead and move into our artistic debut of Rafa and Joshi to discuss a little bit about these paintings I picked up here at the Louvre while you guys have been doing whatever you do, yelling at video games or something. Je ne sais pas. But here we go. Oui. Ah, oui. Ah oui, tu vois, I'm sorry, I'm at the Louvre right now, so I'm French, I have access, like they just let me.
Yeah. Did you not know that, Mark?
I couldn't hold it.
This is my first time on the bit.
So to let you in on a little secret, I'm gonna bring up some pictures here.
Okay.
You're gonna dissect them. You're gonna tell me what it is. It's just your artistic impression of this wonderful painting I'm gonna bring up.
Oh, okay.
Great. Now I want you.
And the artist is gonna be drawing them as we speak. So
wow.
give them a little bit of a break, please.
Sorry, is it 10-second art challenge? I've seen these on TikTok. You're good.
He saw these on TikTok. Good. You're caught up. Dude, ça va, mon ami.
Okay.
We got three pictures. We're gonna go through each picture. Gonna try to guess what the picture is. At the end, I'm gonna try to get you guys to guess what the overall theme was, what I was trying to reach, and it will be based. Look at me. It will be based.
It will be
on this first game.
Oh, I thought you were saying
that you guys did your yelly thing over.
Yes.
That you guys did your yelly thing over. Oh no. So we're gonna go ahead and bring out the artist. Mon ami, viens. Ça va.
Okay, let me just adjust my glasses.
He's a little shy, so
Hmm.
he's a little shy.
Starting to look like a librarian there as well. All right, what do we got? Now, Magical and I did not do particularly well at this yesterday, Mark. So if we get a single guess correct, I think it's gonna be all right. But Dignitas, I'm still pretty sure that we were watching a Banjo-Kazooie on your previous fish. Okay, so that has to be a fish.
Yeah, that it's a fish.
But why is it a fish?
So it's not done yet. The artist is still working. All right. This is
Okay.
the Louvre.
Fish
We take our time. All right.
Fish
all right.
plus. Okay. Well, Josh, I will.
How do you add fish?
I will let you know that fish in French is poisson. If I'm not
Poisson.
Oh, mon ami. Oh, c'est trop bien.
Oh,
Merci beaucoup.
fish bones.
Fish and bone. Oh,
Hey, look
it's
at
about
that.
Jinx. That's how Jinx popped off.
We still got photos to get through, all right? Come on, just chill, bro, chill.
You're
I
guessing
don't know if I
too
need
early,
to
Mark.
dissect this from you, but come on, we need to kick you out of the Louvre or what? You got a membership? Let me see it. Come on. All right. So we're gonna keep going.
Okay.
This is gonna be terrible.
What do we got?
The artist is really working hard on this one. That's what I meant to say.
Okay.
Just of what the painting is. Tell me what the painting is.
Jaws. Is it a shark? Okay, so we had fish bones earlier, so this is probably a shark, right? It's one weird ass looking shark.
Dude, this looks like the duck animatronic from Five Nights at Freddy's. It's gonna kill me.
It is.
Oh God.
Okay. Where's Perchance when you need her? This is that one scary looking duck.
Oh no. These are pretty scary ducks.
No, but for real though, I'm pretty sure we're looking at the nail bomb made by a powder from our
Chompers.
that didn't work.
Oh, he got the chompers. Oh my God, you will be French yet, Rafa. You will be French. All right. We got one more. We got one more. This one is. C'est trop bien. I can't wait to show you this one. I can't wait to. It's a true masterpiece, if you will.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see it.
is Ditto from Pokemon again.
Should I say it or should I wait?
Bullet Bill. It's Bullet Bill.
It's Bullet Bill. You got it.
Okay.
That's it. All right, we're gonna segment to Bullet Bill now.
Hang on. Es
What you got?
super mega
What you got?
fusil de la montre.
Oh.
I like it. All right. So, what was the overall theme, guys? What was the? I'm gonna bring us back. The artist is done. He's tired. He did a great job. All right, we'll give him a round of applause.
It's the.
Mais mes amis, qu'est-ce qu'on a ici? Qu'est-ce qu'on va? What do we have here?
It feels like a royal collection to me. I'm getting, hints of purple and strawberries and everything else that might be involved with what do you call somebody who wears a crown? Mark?
Noir? Could it be a king?
Un roi.
Could it be?
Roi. Yeah.
Mon Dieu! It's a king! No, in all actuality, king is insane. And I think it was a good artistic representation of his skills in the game where he just blasted people.
Yeah.
So the artist, cut him some slack.
We understood what they were.
impressed.
They were great. I loved them.
Yeah.
Matt Magical couldn't guess
Absolutely.
the paintings, and I
Bullet
don't think
Bill.
he just has a good artistic appreciation there.
So I only rented these out for a short time, guys. So I got to go ahead and bring them back now. C'était bien. Merci. You get a star as well, Rafa. So your first time was a success. We'll see next time if we let you in. I did have to check your membership card once, but it's okay. You get one. Everybody gets one. Merci, mes amis. Au revoir. Je dois aller mettre les peintures dans le Louvre. Au revoir.
Au revoir,
Bye. Au revoir.
monsieur.
Monsieur. I honestly have to say that I don't think I've ever seen better art. I haven't been to the Louvre, but I have been to a lot of museums. I went to the Museum of Modern Art, the Museum of New York, and frankly, absolute trash compared to what we just saw.
Wow, that's. I don't know if I would go that far. I still look at graphics by Mr. Doc. So.
Mr. Doc, okay, he did draw the toilet paper cat.
Yeah,
so
dude,
we'll give him a couple of
the
points
zoo's
there.
logo is pretty fire. Not gonna lie, that does take a lot. Oh, Mazel, you're back.
It's
Mazel, you're
not done.
back.
Bam! I'm not in the Louvre anymore. I am back in where I was supposed to be.
What?
You see the hand? Like it's. We were talking about Jinx. Some French guy came in, started talking about Jinx. Arcane teleportation. You see, it just builds up off of it.
I know you're saying with dual citizenship, you can be in two places at once. So
That's a secret conversation between me and you, Joshi. All right, thanks for just putting me on blast like that. Anyways, we had a heck of a game number one, and we do got to get ready for our second game, guys. So I just want your quick takes off of game number one and what you got in the noggin for the second of our two games.
So the first thing I gotta note is the fact that recently we actually have been seeing a pretty significant win rate for Red. I was looking at this at the beginning of the day. Red side has actually won 2/3, 20 out of 30 games so far in Academy had been won on the Red side, but Cloud9 coming in with a very straightforward draft, really turning that around and resisting a lot of the significant early aggression that we typically see from a lot of red side compositions with all the counter picks that they're typically able to go for, but forsaking those for the side of 100 Thieves, even though their logo is red, they chose to just go with a kind of strategy that is more typical of a blue side draft where you're less concerned with trying to find all these counter picks, and they just gave all the lane matchups that Cloud9 could have possibly wanted, and I'm not sure if 100 Thieves is going to be leaning into a similar strategy for the next game.
I guess it depends,
What you
right?
got?
Maybe 100 Thieves, if they still want to get more reps in, it just depends on what's their overall goal. I mean, obviously, every team wants to win, but, if you're not finding meaningful wins where you're developing and getting the experience and the repetition necessary to build upon those fundamentals and the cohesion of the team, then I can understand that if 100 Thieves, they say, no, you know what, we really like this composition, we want to make sure that we have the execution of this necessary, later we go on to the split, we can run this back, and this time we'll get it right. We'll actually execute on the windows for the top side of the map.
Well, I'm excited, y'all, because we did get word. We're ready for game number 2, so take it away.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur. I have to make sure that my French is up to date because sometimes
Up to date.
it's pretty good. I speak Spanish, and there's just a lot of overlap in all the Romance languages there. Thank goodness.
Tell you what,
thank goodness it's not another
Japanese-
language where I would just not be able to keep up with anything Mazel said. But we are into the draft for the second game between Cloud9 Academy, 100 Thieves Academy. Same sides as well. Blue side remaining for Cloud9. They're going to be getting rid of similar bans, but 100 Thieves Academy saying, you know what, Copy? You can't have that Twisted Fate
That was pretty
anymore.
good. Twisted Fate was pretty good, and they did first pick it as well last time for Cloud9. So now that we are getting that taken off the table, this is going to open up at least one of the picks that Ketong had banned against him last time around, and we'll see what kind of adaptation they are willing to make. Again, Red Side has been dominating so far this tournament with so many top laners really thriving off of having this counter pick, and it's not necessarily going to be something where I think we're likely to see Renekton picked so early on for Gamsu this time around. I feel like he has a couple of other picks up his sleeve where he will be able to have a lot stronger of an impact if they are able to give him something where he can actually beat up Lawrence a little bit more.
I'm curious what this final ban will be. I'm going to go back to the Karma that worked before, but this does open up the Akali that we saw, and no hesitation whatsoever. I know that you were casting the Cloud9 Academy game yesterday in Dignitas, and even though it was still a loss for Cloud9 overall, I know that one of the shining moments was Copy on the Akali.
Copy, yeah, absolutely looked very strong yesterday on this pick, and we saw very similarly he was able to have a lot of early game success, and it was able to find a couple of kills that you typically don't expect Akali to find, but finding a solo kill basically immediately at level 6 allowed him to just kind of rocket himself into the game, and instead of going for the Nidalee or something a little bit more spicy like we saw Kenvi go for yesterday, going back to something that has been very tried and true in the Academy season so far, Viego and Jinx likely to get picked up, some of the most common picks that we've been seeing so far throughout.
Yeah, not only going back to comfort for Kenvi, but also, or I guess for the overall 100 Thieves Academy squad, but also then locking in this Jinx for Wixie as I remember seeing, just checking the Academy stats overall, but Jinx had one of the highest presence as well as highest win rates of the marksman in the Academy split so far. It is just absolutely ridiculous numbers, and even though that Aphelios can also match the lethal tempo level that Jinx is putting out in terms of overall damage, the range advantage that you get whenever you go into rocket form the later the game goes on, it definitely is nice for the 100 Thieves Academy.
Yeah, Aphelios, well, with one fewer pick than the Jinx has so far throughout this split, actually looks to be picking up about the same number of wins. And so we are seeing that these two are by far the most common AD carries picked so far this tournament. And with the Jarvan locked onto the Utah Engage, as we were talking about previously for our first game, definitely going to be online, because with these two champions already getting picked up with relatively low crowd control between Akali and Aphelios, you definitely need very clear go buttons.
100 Thieves Academy thinking about maybe locking in a blind pick option here for the mid lane, because even though that we saw Copy was the one that piloted this Akali yesterday, there's no guarantee that it's going to go towards him, as we know that this could also be in the top lane depending on the matchup that Gamsu elects himself in. A LeBlanc, if it can get snowballed and is able to link up with Kenvi in the first few minutes of the game, this can lead into powerful assassination reset combos. And then this is where Viego really comes into the fold as a menace on the Rift.
Yeah. I also want to take a quick opportunity to look at, some of the champion pools that we are getting to see a little bit more of, right? Like, 100 Thieves have, by and large, had pretty standard champions that they've been picking for almost everybody. But somebody that we haven't necessarily been seeing as much of is Jimian. Has not always been going for what a lot of people would assume to be the top of the meta, right? He's got a couple of quirky games, but he's been playing Rise, Akali, Twisted Fate, and notably, he hasn't really had Victor banned against him, and he also hasn't played it so far, which is very surprising to me. I'm a big Victor proponent. I think this champion is really, really good at basically all points of not just the game, but also just kind of the meta. It is very rare this champion is weak. And so I'm kind of curious how much of that leans into what we were talking about before, where 100 Thieves experimenting a little bit more, trying to find different champions, different styles that they can potentially bring out later on, or if it's just something that doesn't exist in his pool.
100 Thieves Academy could look to secure a support for Sword and still give counterpick options for Gamsu, as we saw that was extremely pivotal for their match against TSM Academy yesterday. Gamsu being able to pull out both Jace and Tryndamere. You know, picks that we would have never really expected Gamsu to play on last year, but, you know, talking about his growth and really just the arc that he's gone since being just a more of a tank facilitative player to now really being a carry in his own right.
Yeah, and I also have to pay attention to the fact that, you know, with a lot of these players coming through, going for these different styles, I would be surprised if this Diana. Frost Forest is absolutely listening to us at this point, or at least maybe it's Keatung. Maybe Keatung's doing the hovering for us, but somebody is paying attention to the broadcast. I also think that the big thing that we have to know is, I was just going to bring this up, this Akali doesn't necessarily have to be for copy. It could have also gone to Lawrence up in the top lane, and it looks like he's going to be selecting that and having an opportunity for them to go for some kind of dire flex like we saw TSM do originally with the Trinity.
Vex has been commonly picked into this LeBlanc matchup. I know that the other counter pick of choice has been either like a Ryze or a Lissandra. Not many people in the West are a big fan of the Lissandra, as they are in the LCK. And I definitely got a taste of playing against a really powerful Vex last night in my adventures. If you jump right on top of it and then pops the personal space with that fear, it is not the most fun if you are playing something like an assassin, which, you know, so good into this LeBlanc matchup. But Gamsu is going to be leaning more into his roots, being that tank player, both in League of Legends and his past over on the Shanghai Dragons in Overwatch. Ornn going to give you powerful engage tools thanks to that Call of the Forge God.
We'll see how effective he can actually be with it, right? We do see that most of our crowd control, or most of our proactive or discretionary crowd control, as I've called, is going to be in the hands of Gamsu and Sword at this point. And we know that Sword, when given the tools to actually be aggressive with his engages, has, for the most part, looked pretty good. Got a couple whiffs here and there, but the big thing you got to pay attention to is he keeps on going for it, trying to understand the limits of what he can actually get away with. But now, going against Keatung on this Leona, we know Leona is one of the few tank supports that Keatung has actually brought to the stage at this point. And it is historically very, very good into Rakan.
Yo, wait a minute. I know I know
wait a minute, I'm waiting.
You always get me when you do that. I like that you're very responsive to me, but that always throws me out. Oh, I love and hate you at the same time. Our
used to.
This is the result of our friendship over the past 4 years now. 4 years, by the way. The audience can't see this quite yet, but once we get into the game, you'll see that Frost Force is actually going for the Lethal Tempo build on Jarvan. I know that Lethal Tempo was buffed during the off season, and we've seen it on the likes of things like the Xin Zhao and other attack speed based junglers, but Lethal Tempo Jarvan was something that was originally experimented with mostly in the amateur scene. I know players like Kitsuo and there's I can't remember his name. I think it was like Nathan. And of course there's just it just name was just Nathan. Like Nathan and then like 127 or something.
Oh.
But King Nidhogg, also another player kind of in the high elo scene, used to be a big fan of Lethal Tempo Jarvan before the Lethal Tempo rework. It's just because of being able to make use of the fact that you get the attack speed steroid from the flag, as well as just the high base damage that Jarvan really brings in the early game. And it's different than Conqueror, but it's a little bit more exciting for those all-in skirmishes.
Yeah, one of the big things that I do really like about this is it actually allows you to kind of duel a lot of champions that you wouldn't normally be able to. You sacrifice a little bit of team fighting power, because your auto attacks aren't always going to be on the targets that you want them to, and so you oftentimes want the extra just raw AD for your Q to do more damage later on. But it allows you to actually just trade auto attacks with Viego in ways that Conqueror does not. So Frost Forest looking to potentially be a little bit more aggressive this time around and going for a very similar, at least in theory, opening start with his drop.
Last time we saw full clear on the top side of the map, then head towards his red and then start to be proactive and looking for any early gank timers or just go back into the jungle after establishing some defensive vision for the rest of his team. When we look at the side of 100 Thieves Academy, because they're playing a little bit more standard, they have an actual dedicated front line both between Gomsu and Sword, who can kind of be both on the front line and the back line depending on which role he is playing in the immediacy of the fight. 100 Thieves Academy don't mind taking this game a little later than they normally would have in game 1.
Yeah. Oh. Bit of a trade going into the mid lane now. There's a conversation we could have about when you're actually supposed to level your skills, and Vex into LeBlanc is definitely one of them, where you typically don't put a level immediately, but Sword going for an aggressive
Ignite
fight.
is already forced out of Keitong because Sword was getting close to maybe popping his own Ignite, but he actually has to flash away because King, a long-range gun on the Calibrum, is going to force Sword to be like, oh, that was a little too close there.
Maybe not the best idea. Yeah, I think what we probably saw, because we only saw the second half of the battle dance come through for Sword, means that Keitong picking up on the fact that as soon as he uses his second battle dance, he no longer has any mobility to fall back on. He can't really avoid any of the crowd control that will be coming his way, and so Sword is going to have to give up his flash for going for a bit of a mistiming on his actual aggressive plays that he's going for, and it is starting to put them a little bit behind right now. Keitong and King seem to have built up a lot more synergy now than they had at the very beginning of the season.
Over time, you know, the more games you are able to get in, eventually things will fall more naturally into place. As you see, Frost Force might be met by Kenvi. Kenvi went for a full clear of the jungle.
Oh, that's timing. Oh,
Copy has no idea. This is so tragic, and he can't flash at this point. I mean, if he does... Oh, wait, with the fear might be enough, but the long-range Q from Kenvi picks up first blood against his former teammate.
Oh my god, I feel like we've been seeing so much of this over the past couple of days. Again, I gotta shout out XU for his crazy timing windows that he ended up picking up in his absolutely stellar game yesterday. But Kenvi does a very similar thing. He walks through right as Frost Forest walks by, and so Copy feels very safe hovering towards the bottom half of his mid lane. Unfortunately for him, he is not safe. That is exactly where Kenvi has just come. Able to find first blood this time, going over to Kenvi, and we know how insanely scary
in
he is.
the vision control there, as being able to sneak in through the fog of war right in between both the mid laner and the jungler. Definitely well played from Kenvi. Feels a little bad for Copy though, but giving up both of his summoner spells. At least Kenvi and Jimian had to trade their summoners as well. Frost Force being the only person in this 2v2 that has a summoner advantage. Want to see if Cloud9 Academy feel pressured to try and make a play to put Copy back into it, because he's still doing pretty fine in the CS department.
Yeah, and the big thing about players like Copy that we've often seen is, you know, he didn't have a particularly high, like, giving first blood ratio historically, but the big thing is he actually had a pretty decent stat in terms of winning after giving up first blood. And because a large part of that just has to do with the fact that he's able to continue being relevant because he plays such high utility characters a lot of the time, and this Vex is no different. The only difference of a Vex ahead versus a Vex behind is the amount of damage you do, but you have so much redundant damage in your team already. Copy doesn't necessarily need to be the one that's going to be bursting out people all on his own. He's got Lawrence and King and Frostforest.
Sword being proactive on the map, moving with Kenvi. There is a dragon available. Doesn't look like 100 Thieves Academy are quite ready to start up the objective quite yet, as they would need King and Keitong not in a position to interfere with that objective secure. Trying to take the first dragon in the game can always be a bit of a doozy, especially if the enemy team gets in your way as well.
I hate it when the enemy team gets in my way, Mark. Why can't they just let me win?
You know, the world would be a better place if that were to happen. It just...
True. I had a conversation yesterday. It's like, why isn't my flash on a lower cooldown?
I need a handicap.
Okay,
it is level 6 LeBlanc. However, Jimian does have to respectfully wait for the distortion before using it to make sure that Frost Force doesn't punish, and because the mobility spell was already used from the jungler, gets a little bit more chip damage with that distortion, but no further action.
And jungle privilege means that that damage is much more likely to stick to Jimmy than it is going to be sticking to Frost
I love
Force, because he
jungle
just goes back into the jungle and heals all of it up. I know you do. I hate it. But the jungle, now with control being going over to 100 Thieves, they do know that Frost Force, at least for a little while, is going to have to return to his side of the map. And with the priority that they built up in the bottom lane, 100 Thieves will be able to reward themselves with the first Infernal Dragon of the game. So this is already very different from what we saw last time around. In the previous game, we were seeing the 100 Thieves going for a couple very early aggressive plays, ended up kind of biting themselves in the butt. Right, they went for an aggressive play and ended up giving over as more kills than they were actually getting.
Gamsu doesn't have Ignite available, but this is
no mana.
This is a very low Akali right here. Call of the Forge God if it lands, and Lawrence forced to use the last ultimate ability dash there just to make sure that he doesn't go down to a stray ram charging his way.
Definitely felt like both of them were unsure as to who was going to be winning that fight, and they ended up both backing away because Gamsu had absolutely no mana, but now with no flash, Kenvy's here to
Frost Force is also beelining towards the top side of the map. He has a feeling that Kenvy should be here. Frost Force, he's going to find Kenvy in this bush, but Kenvy needs...
Frost is level 5.
I guess he can't do anything then. Well, that's a shame for Florence. It's just an easy heartbreaker for Kenvy.
Very easy play coming through, and Frost Force now level 6, but going up against 2 members, definitely not the easiest thing.
Gets the knock-up down, but Kenvy just has the Heartbreaker to be able to escape easily, and no punishment from Frost Force can really be made here. Keetong is in the mid lane. Copy might be able to lock down Jimmy in here, but it's a little hard to do since still has the second cast of Distortion available to him.
Sword is also here, and so now, remember last game, Mark, again, we were looking at this where 100 Thieves gave over the Rift Herald almost exactly at 8 minutes because Cloud9 rotated everybody. Now, something a little similar is happening, right? We still see Wixie heading in the bottom lane. King was thinking about coming up, but is not going to be losing any minions for his potential opportunity to move, but 100 Thieves now committing. So Wixie, going to be the actual play for Cloud9, the opposite side of the map. A bit of a reversal from what we were seeing the first time.
100 Thieves Academy just overall playing a cleaner game. You already mentioned this before, that the risks that they were taking in the previous game that set them far behind, they're not taking as much anymore. They're being far more calculated. This is a return to kind of the expected playstyle for 100 Thieves Academy that we saw them really make a name for themselves for in the prior split last year. And Cloud9 Academy, they're not out of the game, right? It's a slight 1,000 gold deficit,
totally,
and they still have great team fight utility tools to play around, and King hasn't been set far behind. Now, what's up?
Cloud9 are the ones actually hitting this, but they didn't get enough priority to make this necessarily a safe take. Gamsu already running over, and Call of Forge God coming up very soon.
It's a bit of a scary situation for Cloud9 Academy. The rest of 100 Thieves Academy rotating on over. This is 4-2 at the moment. Copy hasn't really gotten a chance to clean up this wave yet, so he can't rotate over. So this Rift Herald started originally by Cloud9, and they're going to try to punish Copy. Copy still has Flash available, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get out of this situation alive, and it's Wixie! It doesn't matter if he's playing Senna or if he's playing Jinx. Overall, the global ultimates are still fused to him to allow him to pick up these kills, man.
Absolutely crazy stuff coming through once again for 100 Thieves, and now this is a much cleaner game and much more typical, as you previously said, of the way that 100 Thieves has historically played. But the biggest thing that we have to pay attention to is the fact that so much of this gold is going into the right places. Wixie's got his first kill of the game. 2 kills going over to Kenvy. There's a CS lead in the jungle. There's a large CS lead in the top lane, and 100 Thieves have kind of ballooned to a 2,000 gold lead. And remember, in the previous game, they were still ahead in gold for a long period, even while they were giving up kills.
Now 100 Thieves up 2,000 at this point, and they're just making slow but calculated steps to make this snowball much more seizable and easier to execute this time around. And Cloud9 Academy, this is the challenge now for them. It's not a team that is making mistakes that they can easily punish and therefore take the lead into their own hands. They now have to find ways to really exact an advantage for themselves. They need to be more actionable on the Rift.
I also want to bring something else to your attention, Mark. Frost Forest currently going with the Turbo Chem Tank.
Oh.
Going for a bit of a bursty style of build, and Lawrence is also doing the same thing. They both recognize that these fights are going to be brawls across the Rift, and just going for this just means having a bit more HP to play with, not going for the same kind of for the Gore Drinker that we've typically seen, but look at
They
this.
want to lock up Sword. Soul Flare goes a little bit wide. Copy tries to lock him down with the Shadow Surge, and Frost Force picks it up here. But now they have to make the retreat away from the tower. Super Mega Death Rocket comes out. A lot of damage from Wixie. Keetong has to respect it with a flash.
Oh man, Kenvi looking so forlorn there, hoping he could find a couple of resets in that fight, but not quite able to do it. And that's one of these things that the Turbo Chem Tank actually allows you to do. You do get this slow available, and you get a big burst of damage every single time you go in. But I like the tempo that 100 Thieves are playing with. They're going directly mid lane, dropping this Rift Herald, and this time it's not just jungle who's going to be getting some benefit off of this. It is also going to be shared with Jimin as the first turret in the mid lane.
Yeah, definitely love the fact that Cloud9 Academy made a move onto the bottom side of the map, but 100 Thieves Academy, great response to still get a net gold advantage over it. Oh, what the? What?
Wixie died.
Huh.
Bye-bye, Wixie.
I guess Cataclysm was used, and Wixie just stepped a little too far forward. Flash is down as well, but okay, Cloud9 Academy taking advantage, and this is going to be one member down. 100 Thieves Academy might not necessarily be able to pick up this dragon right away.
But I don't think Cloud9 can really do so either, right? They have to use so many cooldowns in order to make that happen. The Cataclysm being down and Orin already shifting towards the mid lane means that they didn't have enough members to go for it with the strength that they actually needed. So as we kind of return to a bit of normalcy for a little while. Oh, Lawrence, okay, I respect it. It does mean that the gold lead is going to be going over to 100 Thieves. And like last time, Mark, we have to pay attention to who has the scaling elements on their team, and we have to pay attention to the fact that one of these teams has Ornn and the other team does not.
You know, now that you mention it, I forgot about the ornaments this game. We haven't seen an Ornn game in quite a while, and at least in the Academy split. Lawrence might be in a bit of a pickle here. Call of the Forge God goes a little wide, though, because, you know, it's kind of hard to tell where he is in the Shroud. And nice follow-up from Copy. Picks him up with the Shadow Surge, but Kenvi is here. He's going to now find Lawrence.
Kenvi.
Let's see your Akali skills, Kenvi. Have you been putting in some jungle Akali games? I would hope not, you know, but he's getting out of this one. Copy. Oh, does he want to kill his former teammate here? Kenvi. It's a lot of burst damage from Copy, but not enough to take him down.
Yeah, bit of a back and forth fight there during that whole thing. I was not convinced that Lawrence was going to be able to kill Gamsu until I saw Copy starting to come around, and ends up being enough. They get a little bit of damage here, but Kenvi still has the red buff. Oh, you know Frost
but they got a teleport
here.
coming in, so they're confident about this. Copy almost solos out Kenvi. Frost Force, you know, I find that so funny, because Frost Force is just clearing out the red ward, and he's like, hey, do you need me to help? And Copy's like, no, I'm good.
You're
good,
good,
man.
right?
Yeah.
I'm good.
You keep on clearing out vision. I got this.
I got it. Well, it is going to be matched. There's not a lot of damage that actually goes down onto the turret. Instead, it is going to be Wixie and Sword who now have to deal with Lawrence, and the dragon still going to be standing, and Gamsu without the teleport does mean that he's not going to be available to actually go for this fight. And so, brief tempo advantage going over to Cloud9. We were praising 100 Thieves for their use of tempo previously, but they don't have
100 Thieves
right
Academy are this time matching them much more proficiently in the macro side of the game. So Cloud9 Academy are not able to just as easily take these objectives whenever 100 Thieves make a misstep, because the amount of mistakes that they're making is nowhere near as many as the first time around. But the dragon has been started, and they want to go for the engage. Cataclysm, Utah engage on the Sword, baby. He's able to get out with a grand entrance, but Wixie is still the person that goes down in the end.
This is the second game in a row that 100 Thieves have made the exact same mistake, and
Jimian has nowhere to run. Copy is just running amok right now on the Vex, and now they have a distinct numbers advantage. This is a free dragon for Cloud9.
Yeah. Again, second time that 100 Thieves have made the exact same mistake, fighting at almost the same time for the same number dragon, right? It's just a matter of 100 Thieves trying to limit test a little bit too much, and they know, you know, we know, everybody knows that there's no way that Gamsu can do anything, and you do not have a front line to protect your back line. right? Wixie is just completely left to the wolves. He doesn't have a flash available, and once the Cataclysm comes down, he's got no way to really leave. So 100 Thieves testing that was really, I'm gonna say overconfidence that they could just mechanics their way out of it.
Frost Force, a man on a mission. Can't be giving the good old thumbs up emote. You can't catch me. And Frost Force just pushing him out of his own jungle, just like the old man to the kids. Get off my lawn. I don't think Frost Force is older than Kempy, though. I think similar age. So the dichotomy doesn't really work as well here.
We'll have to pay attention to that. I actually don't know how old most of these players are.
They're in their, for the most part, early 20s. I mean, you know, the newer players, right? But then, of course, you know.
True. And then, you know, we got our snipers in the world.
Yeah.
Sword's
yeah, Sword
young.
is also pretty young. I think he's still under 20. Gamsu and King probably the oldest players here. And then, you know, by old, it's just, you know, it's just mid-20s. You know, our age. Uh-oh, that's a lot of damage on it.
Okay, does he go in? He's just waiting for cooldowns, I think.
Copy is coming in with something to prove, man.
Copy is... He's bullying, right? He does have this lane counter matchup, which is very good in order to make sure LeBlanc's life is a little bit uncomfortable. But Jimmy going through, I mean, he can try and steal this, but haha, smite. Just kidding. Anyway, at the same time, while all this nonsense is happening in the bottom lane, they're going to be able to crash this Rift Herald in the mid, and I feel like we've also seen this story before, right? Immediately after Cloud9 go for an objective play elsewhere, 100 Thieves just go and just crash this objective into the mid lane. 100 Thieves now need to look to exit because they see 4 Frost Forces.
Frost Force, even though he was kind of gatekeeping 100 Thieves on being able to exit out, he couldn't necessarily engage since Jimian, despite being on the other side of the map, had access to Unleash Teleport, same with Copy, so I don't think either team really wanted to engage into an all-out brawl in the jungle, but 100 Thieves Academy definitely happy that they have broken up the map even further with that Rift Herald push.
It would be a very bold flank if he actually went for that engage, right? I just released a video on Twitter talking a little bit about it. Copy's issue yesterday going for flanks was he's a little bit too late there. Frost Force would have been way too early, right? Not necessarily having an opportunity to go for any of the plays because nobody would have been able to follow him up. It's one of these engages where you are just so far ahead of the rest of your team that you're just going to go down by yourself. But, Mark, as we take a look and kind of take stock as... Thank you, Mermage, bringing up the situation in terms of gold. It hasn't changed a whole lot. In fact, it's shrunken slightly for 100 Thieves. They were up 3k earlier. Now they're only up about 2k. And Jimian sees Copy, but he also sees Keaton.
2 against 1. Not a fair fight.
Not fair.
I hate unfair
Too many.
fights, Josh.
Unless it's mine. Right. I'm okay with having more friends.
Well, yeah. But can I be on your side at least for those unfair fights? Okay.
True.
That's
yeah. Can we also get me a lower flash cooldown?
We're back to that. I don't think Riot is ever gonna listen.
Jeez, Cloud9 are just not on the same, 100 Thieves are not on the same page at all today, and is really showing as Cloud9, who seem to be much more cohesive than they have been in the past, are taking control right on back after having an early deficit against 100 Thieves. And as the next dragon going to be spawning in only 20 seconds, Gamsu just blew his teleport, just blew his ult. He's still dead after the dragon spawns. This is another objective that is going to be going over towards Cloud9. So Cloud9, again, they're in a spot where they have to be really worried about the Ornn coming up later on, but taking control now just means that it's easier to prevent these ornaments from ever mattering.
Take a look at the replay here, and it's just so much burst damage coming out of the Kempy. He already has to use so many summer spells and resources just to get out, but then everyone's going back in.
Yeah, and they don't see that Lawrence ends up teleporting in. By the time Gamsu is here, you have to note that Wixie is still only at Dragon. He's 10 seconds out at best, and at no point of this fight does 100 Thieves ever have even an even number of people in the fight. It's always outnumbered for Cloud9. They always have more friends, and at a certain point, that's all that matters in life.
Now, Gamsu at least has hit the point in the game where he can now give his friends prettier items, you know. Ones with more
True.
stats, ones with a little bit more oomph to them.
Yeah, like a Wormfallen Sacrifice.
Is that really a name of... What is that? Is that the Kraken Slayer upgrade?
Yeah.
What
I
the...
don't think it makes a lot of sense, but, you know, it is what it's called.
Huh.
I think.
We should petition to change some of these names.
Well, we'll get to see a couple more of them pop out as the game goes, because Gamsu does hit level 14. He is up 40 CS right now over Lawrence, so he's been doing well in the isolated side lane, but as we already called out, they are not on the same page. They are not using this Orin to its full potential, and that's something that is going to really have to change. They are still very even in gold at the moment, and they do have some scaling tools that they can play with, but having the tools in the toolbox doesn't mean you're always going to be using them correctly. So 100 Thieves, I'm looking to see if they can bounce back from this one and actually bring this game back to a situation where I feel comfortable saying that they're in control.
And if you're a 100 Thieves fan at home, I think the bright side of things is that this game still can be brought back. I mean, it's an even gold lead. Had to clench there for Sword, you know, just making sure that he got out alive, but thankfully he had grand entrance. Cloud9, they have been making better team moves, and the cohesion has been more on their side in this series today. But for 100 Thieves Academy, they still have the scaling of the ornaments coming online for them. They still have this Jinx that can really pop off, and between Viego and Jinx getting resets off into these fights, it's still your win condition that is executable and reliable.
Yeah, that part's executable and reliable. But you know what else is very executable and reliable, Mark?
What's that?
Cataclysm.
Damn, 100 Thieves are screwed. Dude, Cataclysm is so good, man. You just dunk people and then you lock them down.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember. Was put down, he would aggressively always use his headbutt every single time a Trundle Pillar was put down, always breaking. And so I kind of like laughed at it back then, but I also wonder if Gamsu has to do that in this game. Is every single time he sees a Cataclysm, he needs to instantly try and headbutt it in order to create space for Wixie to actually kite, because Gale Force doesn't get him out, and he doesn't even have it, right? His only way to escape is Frostforce drops it or his flash, and most of the time that's not going to be enough time for Wixie to actually stay alive against the Jarvan Vex combo that is such a powerful amount of crowd control and damage that I don't know if Wixie can do anything about.
He's really going to have to depend on his team to set up the dominoes that he can knock down and get those resets, because it just takes one kill. You need a lot of burst damage onto one primary target. You get that down, and then boom, then it's a lot easier to start ramping through the fights. But it's just been difficult for 100 Thieves Academy to find that one domino piece to start off with.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they can set him up so they can knock him down a little bit later. They're still struggling right now to try and find a way to create a play in this game, because as long as Akali is creating side lane pressure, it's difficult for Gamsu to actually move around. And Gamsu, I don't think of him as a particularly strong split pusher, right? He's typically going to be somebody that is much more effective in these team fights. He wants to create an advantage through his laning and then translate it towards the rest of the team. And now we are finally seeing him group up, and 100 Thieves actually taking control of the river before the fight comes through. And as the Eye of Luden gets built up, and don't worry about that, Mark, you're not forgetting, I'm literally just reading the names off the screen as they're built. They are finally here. They're taking control of the vision, making it a lot more difficult for Cloud9 to come back and try and contest this dragon.
Lawrence does have Unleashed Teleport, so he can always join the fight once Cloud9 Academy feel it's ready. Jimmy So on the other side, has to use the distortion to get out. Frost Force is going to force the second cast of distortion. Sword onto the chase. Wants to go for something, but only charms up Frost Force, and now the quickness is gone. It's a lot of resources. Lawrence is already teleported into this fight, and Jimmy might be in a bad spot. Gets distortion out once again, but is chunked to half HP. He's going to have to take a recall and use the teleport to get back into this fight ASAP.
Okay, look at this flank coming out from Lawrence, though. They have so much control. 100 Thieves went so deep and so disjointed that it means that they have no control here. And that's why Jimmy's already going towards the mid lane. Gamsu might be in trouble.
100 Thieves Academy, their goal is just to keep Cloud9 here as long as possible. I don't know if they necessarily win the fight here, but Jimmy's going to be called back over to assist in here. Kenvy's looking for the resets on the Frost Force, but he doesn't go down. He's way too tanky with this build that he's got. And Lawrence, meanwhile, is just cleaning up house on the other side of the map. That's a triple for this Akali.
It feels a little bit baffling, Mark, moving all around the map, whereas Cloud9 so coordinated. In these fights, they always know where they're going. Do we go for Gamsu? Nah, it's just an Orin. Let's go get the rest of them. And they're able to take these fights. So watch the fact that Jimmy is completely gone, and Cloud9, yes, they have to scatter a little bit for this call of the Forge God, but immediately they just turn onto a single person. They have an idea of where they want to go, and Lawrence able to create so much space for the rest of his team. They withstand the Kenvy dive, they pick up all these kills, and Lawrence still alive at the end of it because this build still does enough damage to actually find the kills.
And I think there's something, just baffling about what 100 Thieves wanted to do there, because I can understand if Jimmy is calling for the mid wave and pinging it as we saw on the mini map. Like, okay, 100 Thieves Academy, their job then is just to keep Cloud9 Academy here as long as possible without suffering too many casualties, right? Maybe Jimmy can get some turret pressure there, but then Jimmy gets called over as they start the fight. So when your pieces are not in position to capitalize onto the fight, you're setting yourselves up to fail. So this is... The Cloud9 Academy are, once again, obviously their pieces are always in position, but they're just taking advantage of a uncharacteristically uncoordinated 100 Thieves.
Yeah. And, again, this is Academy. This is a learning environment, so I'm not super worried for 100 Thieves. I am excited for Cloud9. They are winning. Jimmy should be okay.
Yeah, perfect execution not going to be enough to find him here. Created a lot of distance. Right? Oh, wait. Distortion? Oh, Lawrence really wants to limit test this. Oh, okay. Fancy moves from Lawrence. He is quite fed on this Akali, and he's creating enough pressure to keep Jimmy onto the top side of the map as Cloud9 Academy trying to engage onto this inhibitor. Call of the Forge God. Multiple knockups thanks to Frost Force, and the Cataclysm is going to keep members locked down from 100 Thieves Academy. Kenvy and Sword have to back out of this fight. Jimmy might be able to find the flank here. Does he find Copy? Copy is assassinated on the other side of the wall, but you still got to do something about King. He's pretty damn scary on this Aphelios, but they're going to be walking away from this fight.
King totally in control of anything he wants to do right now. And Jimmy and Lawrence, we saw them tussle just a moment ago, but Lawrence's ult is back up.
Oh, they're getting a nice pincer here. Distortion from Jimmy. He's going to use double cast Distortion, and he can't go back because King is right on top of those markers here. Lawrence getting in range, forcing the flash out of Jimmy. One more Distortion cast. Should be able to get out, but that's the Summoner's spell down.
Okay, well, 100 Thieves actually finding a couple of kills there, but it's not going to result in a whole lot. They are still the ones who lost things on the map, and Copy up in 15 seconds. It takes 100 Thieves longer to get to the enemy inhib than it would for Copy to actually respawn. So a couple of kills are nice. They are continuing to scale into the game, but it's not necessarily going to be giving them a whole lot more to immediately play for. They are still just waiting for Wixie to be strong enough to actually withstand the dive coming in from Akali, Jarvan, Vex, and I mean, I got news. That's a very tough thing to actually do. He's probably going to need to get like a Guardian Angel or something before they can really play to that win condition.
For Cloud9, they've already opened up the base. Yeah, they didn't take down the inhibitor quite yet, but now they always have one lane that they can potentially end the game off of if they have enough of a numbers advantage after a successful fight.
Yep. So Cloud9 here, they're now starting to poke and probe a little bit more. There's another dragon spawning in about a minute, and Cloud9, again, they're on the same page. This composition is relatively easy to execute. You move around as 4, Akali comes in when they need to, and taking control of all these jungle camps, continuing to deny a gold source from 100 Thieves is just a precursor to denying them the ability to walk in towards the dragon. 100 Thieves, the one time they were there first, they gave it up, and now Jimmy has to find some kind of pick.
Well, will Keetong be enough here? That's a lot of damage.
That's one.
Okay, Heartbreaker resets. Are there going to be enough here? Copy getting interrupted by the knockup from Call of the Forge God. 2 carries already down. Jimmy and Kenvi are now locking down King. This could be the starting pieces of 100 Thieves getting back into this game. Jimmy's going to get locked up by Frost Force, but remember, this is just full tank Jarvan. He's not going to be able to take him out all by himself. Copy's on the retreat, so he can't help out Frost Force. He gets one more flag and drag out, but he's going to get pursued to the very bitter end by 100 Thieves Academy. They are not planning on letting anyone get away. They're looking for the full ace. Nice fear from Copy. Jimmy's going to have to pull out for now. Kenvi, he doesn't take him down. Copy will be able to survive.
Okay, barely Copy is going to be able to get back, but it's not going to be a whole lot more than just the goal coming out for 100 Thieves. Yes, they put a stop to the Cloud Soul, but it's not necessarily going to allow them to break open the base. There are going to be members respawning so soon, and this is one of the advantages of fighting on your opponent's side of the map. It takes them longer to pick something up. So 100 Thieves, they're happy with this. They're going to stay in the game for a while longer, but that felt like an uncharacteristic mistake from Cloud9 this time because they've been playing the rest of this game so clean.
Yeah, just started off with one pick after another, right? Just being able to the chain reaction of
the dominoes.
Reverse dominoes, baby.
There you go. Set them up, knock them down. And you brought it up earlier, right? The resets that are coming through. Kenvi, we know, absolute monster when he starts resetting. I think he plays a lot of ARAMs because he's always able to play all these characters. And all the damage that's coming through from Jimmy, and almost enough to take down the tank. And guys, remember when LeBlanc hits late game, it kind of doesn't matter if you are a tank. Jimmy is going to be able to blow you up regardless of what your items are because he just does so much raw damage.
And the Void Staff definitely helps out a lot. You can just pierce right through any magic resist that you are building up as Leona. And, you know, Locket and Merc Treads, it's not necessarily a lot. So, a level 16 LeBlanc will be able to kill almost anyone given the right amount of space here. So 100 Thieves Academy, they're starting to finally hit the breaking point of the game where they have enough power to fight back against Cloud9, but it's all about the positioning and where Jimmy is able to approach the fight.
So let's talk a little bit about the mental kind of game. And I know our players have talked in the past about how when the game gets late, you kind of start to feel a little bit worried. Some of the confidence you might have had earlier, and I know this is something that you have talked about a lot. When you play something like the Jarvan, you feel a need to do something to win the game before you kind of become irrelevant. And Frost Forest got to be feeling that way right now as well. He knows that he's a little bit past his prime on this champion, and he's going to have to be more useful than he would otherwise be in. They're starting the Baron? I don't know if this is it.
They are. Well, it's going to force Jimmy's teleport. I imagine that maybe Cloud9 Academy will then just peel off and then look to start a fight here. But Sword, if he's the one that gets onto the fight first, but it's immediately stopped here. Wow, Call of the Forge God and Quickness already expended by 100 Thieves Academy only just for the price of Solar Flare. So now Cloud9 Academy have more engaged tools than 100 Thieves Academy have right now.
Okay, Lawrence goes in by himself.
Okay, well, perfect execution. He's going to have to use it just to escape here. What are Cloud9 Academy stalling for? The sideways are not necessarily in the best spot here, so if they're playing a do-si-do game to just buy as much time as they can, not really getting as much as they want on the map, King chunked out to 3/4 HP, so now he has to retreat. The rest of Cloud9 Academy now on the run. Flash from Sword into the stopwatch. Frostforce now going to try to buy some time, but he bites the dust from Jimmy with the burst damage he's got, but King has already healed up back to full thanks to the white and red guns that he's got onto the fight right now. Wixie on the retreat. 100 Thieves Academy thought that they had an opportunity to jump up. Jimmy trying to approach for a flank, but he's on vision right now, and I don't think he knows. Cloud9 are trying to bait it out. Jimmy is going to be able to get out alive potentially here, but Cloud9, I thought that situation was doomed for them.
It was really hard to tell who was actually going to come out on top of that, but it ends up just being a trade of junglers, and Cloud9, red, white, don't fight. Cloud9 looking to be really aggressive right now. They do a lot of damage. Oh, Gomsu teleporting behind. Lawrence knows he's here.
Okay, and they also have eyes on Jimmy for this flank as well. Cloud9, they still want to do this. Wixie doesn't have Super Mega Death Target right now, but Baron has been secured. Keetong might be the sacrificial lamb here. It's a portal combat for now, but Wixie, if he can just get one reset, maybe he can run through the river, but Cloud9 have already scattered. Jimmy trying to keep vision on top of them to make sure that they don't escape safely, but Cloud9 Academy might just be able to get away with it.
Wow, they get it for only the cost of Keetong. That is absolutely super worth it here for Cloud9. That is absolutely worth it, and we still have a minute left before the next dragon spawns. They still want to pick up this Cloud Soul, and 100 Thieves, again, they've got, what is that? 3, 4 Ornn items already completed. at this point. That's an extra 4,000 gold. So they are effectively ahead in terms of just raw itemization. And their composition makes Ornn incredibly tanky. 4 of those items going down gives him an extra like 30% tankiness, right? This guy is an absolute monster at this point in the game. And Jimian, also scaling into the game, can blow up everyone. The only person who might be able to survive, I think, might be Frostfires, because he just has an insane amount of raw HP.
That's the beautiful thing about going full tank Jarvan. Chem Tank, Randuin's, and Thornmail. And Frost Force, you know, even though it's not the Gore Drinker or Sterix Gauge build where you kind of dipping into both damage and survivability, and this ensures that Frost Force always knows that, you know what, I am a front line. I will die for the cause. I will make sure that I am just here to soak up as much damage as I can, and as long as my backline cleans up, I'm doing my job.
So the interesting thing to me right now is, even with all that knowledge and Frost Force trying to just kind of be a sacrificial lamb, 100 Thieves are not interested in contesting this Cloud Soul at all. They don't move out, and I'm a little bit surprised to see that. Simply because the Cloud Soul, I mean, you have 3 Cloud Dragons. That is a lot of movement speed. That is a ton of movement speed. That allows you to move around so quickly. And the big thing here is that Cloud9 are also in a perfect spot after picking it up with the Baron buff to just push in and try and take down Kenvi.
Oh, Solar Flare, knockup connects onto Kenvi. He still has Flash, but he's gonna be patient.
Sword.
Oh, that does a lot of damage on the sword, and he has to get out. Frost Force, Cataclysm walking up Wixie. Copy tries to follow up with that Shadow Surge, pops the stopwatch, but Florence follows up with the assassination. No backline available for 100 Thieves, no more reset potential, and this could be the closing moments for Cloud9 Academy, their first potential sweep of the split.
Both resetters are down. Wixie and Kenvi are dead for 40 seconds here, and Gamsu, Sora, Jimmy have to try and defend this without their primary engage ults.
Knock up from Gamsu. Sora tries to follow up, but there's just no damage if Jimmy cannot get access into the backline safely, and they're being pushed back by King. He's on a mission to pick up his first 2 wins of the Academy split. This first sleep for the squad. A triple kill for King as well. Cloud9 Academy, GG, well played.
Crazy game. As we get a couple of visual bugs at the end of the replay coming through, we do know that Cloud9 are going to be picking up the Nexus off of that and absolutely blowing through 100 Thieves. And just look, this is such a different version of Cloud9 than we've seen before, and a different version of 100 Thieves at the end of it. It feels like, you know, a couple of days ago we gave EG a bit of a pass for not playing the way that, you know, we're used to seeing them. I kind of want to do the same thing here for 100 Thieves, but that doesn't take away the fact that Cloud9 shored up all of their early game issues that we were initially addressing for them, that Frostverse was saying that they were having, and Cloud9 getting a 2-0 sweep against 100 Thieves. They have to be very, very excited about the future that holds for them.
Yeah, Cloud9 Academy just playing a much more patient and reserved game, and just huge props to, you know, whatever the scrims or the practice or the coaching that is really going into the mentality of these players and assisting them and making sure that they're always having a cleaner game. You know, it's a much better showing than week 1, and definitely the results that they wanted to have. Even if these are 3 subs and they're not necessarily the starting players, it's all about, you know, coming together and putting on the best results for this Academy squad, as they're still, you know, King and Copy, who will always be the starting members for this squad. So shout outs to them. We're going to be taking a break. When we come back, we'll be starting our second series and being joined by our wonderful host, Mazel, as we should have an interview with one of the winning players of Cloud9 Academy.